10. The Jantina. In January 2022, Greek divers made a noteworthy discovery by uncovering a sunken Italian submarine from World War II. The Jantina was hit by torpedoes from a British submarine on July 5, 1941, in the Aegean Sea near Greece. The wreckage was discovered 338 feet beneath the surface of the water by Kostas Thoktaridis, a respected and famous Greek underwater explorer. The Jantina was launched in 1932 and it measured 202 feet long. This submarine was used during the Spanish Civil War in 1937. Italy and Nazi Germany were allies of the nationalists during the war. The Jantina tried to attack a destroyer but was unsuccessful. And sadly, that was the lone mission of the submarine during that conflict. The ship the Jantina attacked deployed depth charges to take it out, but the Jantina escaped. The Jantina left the Greek island of Leros because it needed repairs. The Jantina had an issue that rendered it unable to dive, so it had to sail on the water. And this made the submarine an easy target. As a result, it was discovered and sunk by the British submarine HMS Torbay. This was an unusual conflict where a submerged submarine attacked one that wasn't underwater. When it was attacked, there were 48 crew members on the Jantina, but only 6 of them survived the attack by swimming to a nearby island. Then, when the ship was discovered in early 2022, Italian naval records were used to identify the wreckage. 9. USS Grayback. Another US Navy submarine that was lost during World War II was the USS Grayback. It went out for a mission on January 28, 1944, but the sub and its crew of 80 men went missing in March of that same year. The fate of the Grayback was uncovered some 75 years later. Launched in 1941, the USS Grayback was one of the most successful submarines used by the US Navy during World War II. It was 307 feet in length and was responsible for the sinking of 14 enemy ships. The USS Grayback was sent on its 10th war patrol on January 28, 1944. It set sail from Pearl Harbor to patrol the East China Sea. Then, in February, communication was received from the USS Grayback, reporting the sinking of 2 Japanese Army cargo ships. Only 2 torpedoes were remaining on the Grayback, so it was ordered back to dock. Sadly though, that report would be their last. The submarine reported in late February 1944 that it was damaged by enemy aircraft. But the Grayback also reported that it had sunk a Japanese naval transport. After that, no other messages were received. The plan was for the USS Grayback to reach the Midway Islands, but they never arrived. Records existed from the Japanese military about the sinking of the USS Grayback. Coordinates were recorded, and they were reviewed in 1949. Researchers had an idea where the submarine was located in the Pacific. However, the data in the records was incorrect, and the mistake was discovered around 2018. This changed the location of the submarine by hundreds of miles, but eventually they found it. When research crews checked out the wreckage, they noticed that a bomb had been responsible for the sinking of the sub. The explosion had hit the hull, causing water to pour into the vessel, sending the USS Grayback to its watery grave. 8. Battle of the Bulge finds. The Battle of the Bulge was the last major German offensive during World War II. In a desperate attempt to crush the Allied advance in Western Europe, this epic battle was fought in Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany between December 16, 1944 and January 16, 1945. Casualties numbered between 75,000 and 80,000 for the Allies, while Nazi Germany lost some 120,000 men. Since the end of the war, relic hunters have scoured the land where the battle took place to find treasures. And in 1994, a group of relic hunters from Belgium made some impressive discoveries. Jean-Louis Seal was one of the hunters, and using a metal detector, he discovered a helmet that was buried in the ground. After cleaning it off, Seal discovered that it was an American helmet with the name Cortez inscribed on it. The helmet's owner was also a member of the 2nd Infantry Division. Seal was pleased with his discovery and made additional trips to find more items with other relic hunters. One trip led to the discovery of a huge piece of a German Panther tank. It was a portion of the turret. and while they examined the piece, they noticed a hole. The tank had been hit by an American shell. More pieces of the tank were found in the vicinity by Seal and his fellow hunters. More items were uncovered when Seal and company found foxholes that were abandoned during the Battle of the Bulge. There were numerous items like canteens and machine gun tripods. Mess kits were also found, but they were nothing more than plates and utensils that were used by soldiers who needed to eat while in combat. Seals continued his work and is a part of a Belgian relic hunting group known as the Diggers. Seal and his companions have also found the remains of soldiers who died during the battle. His work is important because there are an estimated 78,000 US troops whose remains have never been located. Have you ever visited a war museum before? If you have, let us know all about it in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the channel. 7. The milk cans. Patrick Lesman, a teenager from Poland, was on vacation with his family in 2017 when he made an incredible discovery. Lesman was near Lake Jeziorak in northern Poland when he found 2 vintage milk cans buried near the shoreline. And when Lesman opened the cans, he was absolutely shocked. Inside was a uniform from World War II, a diary, and numerous historical relics. Lesman and his family contacted the authorities and they took possession of the milk cans. The relics were reviewed and it was determined that they belonged to the family of a Prussian aristocrat named Count Hans Joachim von Finkenstein. The area where Lesman found the cans was once occupied by the Germans, and it's believed that they were left behind by the von Finkenstein family when the Soviets were advancing into the area during the Second World War. Inside the cans were also personal documents, a watch, and some other items that were from World War I. Some of the items were then handed over to Waltraud von Finkenstein, the Count's daughter, who was 81 years old at the time. The rest were kept by authorities in Poland, and they planned to place certain items in a local museum. Waltraud von Finkenstein was glad that Patrick Lesman found her father's belongings. During World War II, Waltraud was living in the area where the canisters were discovered. But she was moved elsewhere when it was reported that the Soviets were advancing. Her father stayed behind though, but unfortunately, he was captured and died in captivity. 6. Danube River Finds. The Danube is a river in Europe that flows from Germany to the Black Sea, and World War II relics have been found in this historic river over the years. It was 2003 when a drought drastically lowered the river levels and exposed items from the war. The Croatian city of Batina saw numerous items pulled from the river in 2003. One of the relics was a German jeep that was used during the Second World War. However, that wasn't the largest item to be found in the Danube near Batina. A tank turret was visible, and another item in the water turned out to be an armored personnel carrier. Over the years, relic collectors have had luck finding World War II items near or in the Danube. Items that have been discovered here include a wallet, cartridges, and a skull. The 2003 Danube drought also exposed a massive find that was located more than 100 miles east of Belgrade, Serbia. They were surprised to find the remnants of a German warship. And at the time, it was believed that the ship was part of Germany's Black Sea Fleet. 5. Operation Smash. D-Day was an ambitious Allied amphibious landing in Normandy, France on June 6, 1944. Nearly 160,000 Allied troops made the assault on a heavily fortified German coastline. The bravery of the men who stormed the beaches helped turn the tide of the war in Europe. Before D-Day occurred, there was a training mission known as Operation Smash. The purpose of this exercise was to prepare for the storming of the beaches of Normandy. Operation Smash was conducted in April 1944 at Studland, a community in southern England along the English Channel. Part of the training exercise was deploying tanks from a vessel where they would be in the water and then land on the beach, providing much-needed support to the troops. However, when 32 tanks were deployed, 6 or 7 of them were overtaken by the sea. Water rushed into the tanks and they were all doomed. All of the tanks were sunk and 6 men lost their lives in the process. What's interesting about this training exercise is that the records of the lost tanks and the men who died were kept top secret for quite some time. The training exercise allowed officers the opportunity to avoid this mistake on D-Day. To this day, the tanks are underwater off the coast of Studland. And divers have even captured images of the tanks that were lost during this failed training mission. 4. Solomon Islands. The Solomon Islands is a country made up of hundreds of islands that are located in the Pacific Ocean, just east of Papua New Guinea. If you visit, you can explore some of the World War II relics that were destroyed during the war or were simply left behind. One of the main islands is Guadalcanal. It was the site of one of the most fierce battles during World War II. Guadalcanal was controlled by the Japanese, and they planned to build an airfield on the island. The Allies wanted to stop the Japanese from finishing the construction because the location would have allowed the Japanese to attack Allied bases in the Pacific easily. Fighting occurred from August 1942 until February 1943, and luckily the Japanese lost. The victory was a huge win for the Allies, and there are many World War II relics on the island for tourists to see. The Kinugawa Maru is a Japanese transport ship that was attacked off Tasafaronga Beach on Guadalcanal in November 1942. It's situated about 85 feet underwater, giving divers the chance to explore the wreckage that's covered in colorful coral. Another transport ship that was destroyed on Guadalcanal was the Hirakara Maru. This ship is resting 190 feet below the surface. There are numerous other dive sites in the Solomon Islands for divers who are interested in exploring the wreckage of the ships and planes that were lost during the war. And if you trek around the jungles of Munda in the Solomon Islands, you'll find anti-aircraft guns that were installed by the Japanese. You can even explore the remnants of bases and the airstrip the Japanese were trying to build during the war. 3. The German House. It was 2021 when Sebastian Yurtseven was cleaning his aunt's home in Hagen, Germany following a flood. Yurtseven removed a piece of rotting plasterboard and discovered items that were tucked into a space behind the wall. He found a gun, a gas mask, other weapons, letters, an image of Adolf Hitler, and various documents. The discovery surprised Yurtseven and his aunt. The home was purchased by her in the 1960s, and she had no idea that those items were stashed in the wall of her home. But what they soon discovered was that the home was used by the National Socialist People's Welfare Organization during World War II. This organization was part of the Nazi regime, and the items were likely stashed in the wall when Allied troops advanced in the region towards the end of the war. 2. Lost Airmen of Sicily. In Sicily's charming town of Sciancia, a significant historical find was uncovered in 2017, when experts from the Pentagon's Defense POW/MIA accounting agency identified a site that was believed to be the crash site of a B-25 bomber from World War II. An archaeological dig began in 2021, and it took 6 weeks to unearth the plane and members of the crew that went missing in 1943. B-25s were medium-sized bombers featuring a twin tail. These planes could fly over 1,300 miles for missions, and their bomb capacity load was 3,000 pounds. While the find was impressive, there were over 50 B-25s that were shot down during World War II. However, this discovery would allow researchers to know more about the men who were on board. What's interesting about this discovery is the German records show that the plane was shot down over a German airstrip. But one of the crew members bailed and their body was later discovered. They were buried in a nearby cemetery while the others were left with the wreckage. In November 2023, it was reported that one of the remains had been positively identified as Second Lieutenant Gilbert Holding Myers, the co-pilot of the B-25. Additional information about their mission was also revealed. The B-25 had taken off from a base in Tunisia with the objective of bombing an airfield in Sicily. Unfortunately though, the plane was brought down by anti-aircraft fire, and there are currently no reports available about the fate of the other crew members on the plane. 1. The Shasta Lake Ghost Boat. Recently, Droughts in California have lowered the levels of lakes and rivers, and as a result, there have been some interesting discoveries, especially at Shasta Lake in Northern California. There had been rumors of a sunken World War II era boat at the lake. James Dunstan, a World War II relic collector, decided to check Shasta Lake when the levels dropped in hopes of finding a Higgins boat, which was used during World War II to transport troops and do beach landings. And luckily for Dunstan, his work paid off. He found the boat. While Dunstan was excited that he found the boat in Shasta Lake, he was puzzled as to why it was there. Some 23,000 Higgins boats were built for World War II at a factory in Nebraska. They were equipped with a bow ramp and guns to send troops into battle in shallow waters, and they were 36 feet in length. Rumors suggest that only approximately 20 Higgins boats remain in existence today. The limited number is attributed to the fact that these boats weren't designed for longevity. The boat Dunstan found was used during the invasion of Italy during World War II and was assigned to the USS Monrovia. So, how did it end up in California? It was possibly purchased at a military surplus sale. However, someone heard about this story and checked some back issues of the newspapers. They found a picture of the Higgins boat being used by forestry service workers to clean the lake of debris following winter storms. But there's no explanation of how it ended up at the bottom of the lake. It might have been sunk there after it was no longer needed for service. The Higgins boat that was discovered by Dunstan was returned to Nebraska in 2023, and it was placed in front of a National Guard museum. If you were going treasure hunting, what relic from World War II would you want to find? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.